that Jonah was really pretty moral in every other way except for this one thing. This is how religious people sin. Do you know how religious people sin? Religious people are really, really good people. They're very, very moral until God asks them to do something that is going to cost them something that they love more than God. So even though they're very religious, they're not truly worshiping God, because as soon as God asks them to sacrifice the one thing that they love more than God, then they tell God no. So the basic truth is, you can be very, very close to God and still be a rebel. You can be a religious rebel. And here's Jonah, moral and upstanding in every single area except for this one area. And a lot of us are the very same way. We're very religious, we're very moral, we're very upright, respected in the community, respected in the church. But there's one thing in our life, there's one area of our lives in which we'll tell God no. For some of us, it's a relationship. It's a relationship that you know isn't honoring to the Lord. Others of us, it's something that you're doing in a relationship. Maybe the relationship itself is not wrong, but there are things happening in the context of that relationship that you know are not pleasing to the Lord, but you push back and you say, well, I'm doing everything else right. Everything else in my life is fine, except for this one thing. But this is a terrible place to be spiritually, because you're never as far from God than when you're close to Him and you say no. You're spiritually desensitized to the point that you can be right next to God and not feel the threat of disobedience. That's a very dangerous place to be. Others of us, it's a sacrifice that we need to make. It's maybe a certain amount of time, maybe a commitment to a ministry, maybe involving yourself in the life of the church, maybe something you need to sell, maybe something God's asking you to do. It could be a sin that you need to confess, something that is a secret that is eating at you, and the Lord's telling you, you've got to get this out. You have got to get this in the open. It's going to destroy you, and you're refusing, because if you tell that person, then you're exposed, then your life is over, and you think to yourselves, God, I'll do anything else. I'll be good in every other area. I just cannot do this one thing. I need this one thing for security. I need this one thing for satisfaction. I need this one thing for safety. And so you're really close to God, and you're really, really far from God at the same time. That's true. But others of us, it's a sin that someone else has committed against us that we need to forgive. We're bitter, angry people, but we're pretty washed up. We go to church all the time, and we think, hey, I'm just fine. Others of us, it's someplace we need to go. Maybe for a lot of us, it's the fact that we need to share the gospel, someone that needs the grace of the Lord in their life, and we just simply refuse. You're never as far from God than when you're close to Him and you say no. Here's the truth. Lordship is one of those things that if it's not absolute and total, it's not real. You think it's real. You think Jesus is the Lord of my life, but if it's not absolute and total, it's not real. And Jonah was a really religious person and really running from God. And I think if we're honest, if I'm honest, a lot of us are doing the exact same thing.